Okay, so we're back with our episode today, and today we've got 5 stories, so we'll go through them fairly quickly. But the headlines for today are, we got 4 from The Verge and 1 from Engadget. So our first headline is about Apple's new ARM-based Macs won't support Windows through Boot Camp. Understandable. Tesla is under investigation for Model S touchscreen failures. Samsung's Pay card will be a true digital wallet for its UK phone owners. Basecamp's protest of Apple policies is already benefiting other developers, and WhatsApp payments have been suspended in Brazil by central bank. So the first one is a fairly simple, fairly straightforward one. So basically, whatever Apple's. So the first one I'm going to go into today is Apple using ARM-based Macs, and how that will mean Windows won't be supported through Boot Camp. So as Apple is going to be switching to its own Macs on ARM-based processors, understandably that means that Windows won't be able to run on them in Boot Camp mode. For that, Windows won't be able to run. That's understandable and expectable. However, currently Microsoft is only licensing Windows 10 on ARM to PC makers. And in a statement to The Verge, they say that Microsoft only licenses Windows 10 on ARM to OEMs. We have nothing further to share at this time. Now, Apple is working closely with Microsoft to ensure Microsoft Office is ready for ARM-based Macs later this year. Again, not much of a surprise. I definitely think that's going to be good. However, they have not mentioned the lack of Boot Camp support at WWDC. So it could be working towards some sort of support, but it would mean that Microsoft would have to at least open up its Windows 10 on ARM licensing a little bit more broadly. I don't know, maybe they could give macOS users a way to just kind of pay for it on macOS, or maybe skip the product key again like they do with normal Windows installs. So it's kind of built into the Boot Camp as an installer instead of people being able to go online and install it. It's just built into the Mac as an install file when you first get it. But you can't really access it. I don't know. That would probably get beaten. I don't know what they're going to do. But obviously there are other methods. So these will include running it through things like Parallels and also things like VMware Fusion. The problem is though they won't be supported by Apple's Rosetta 2 transformation technology, as they need to be fully rebuilt for ARM-based Macs. And it could even be fairly impossible for there to be a working solution for VMware and Parallels. Or if they will even commit to building those sorts of apps. Now, VMware has asked its community about how they would use its Fusion virtualization on ARM-based Macs, but again, there is no commitment. So, it's looking very complicated at best and impossible at worst. They're saying it's that they hope Microsoft changes its strict licensing model for ARM-based Macs. However, it would still require Apple to create Windows on ARM drives for its future Mac hardware. However, there's actually a very small percentage of users that use Boot Camp, and given a small percentage of macOS users that actually use Boot Camp, and the roughly 100 million install base of Macs running Windows 10 on ARM, probably won't be seen very soon, or even ever. So I kind of had 2 things about this. Firstly, I'm kind of not really too surprised to see this. It was kind of expected for me to be seeing this. Secondly, I do hope that they do find some agreement. I know that I would probably, the only reason that I don't use a Mac is, well, I use Linux anyway, so Macs are kind of irrelevant for me. And this would probably be the one thing that would definitely stop me from getting a Mac, full stop. Just because, at least if I can't have, macOS is still a much nicer operating system than Windows. I definitely prefer the UI. But I feel, I don't know, there will be Linux. So I probably won't ever be really using a Mac. Not to be a hater on Macs or anything. I love macOS. As I said in my last one, I have a macOS virtual machine running that I can run on my Linux machine. Again, when the YouTube channel is up, aka tomorrow. That is a near guarantee. At this point, I have a template and I have the audio files, just need to merge it. So that should hopefully happen by the end of tomorrow, and ready for the set upload of the video that will be tomorrow. So yeah, that's gonna be good. Now, again, this isn't a surprise, and this one is definitely up to Microsoft, not Apple. So let's hope that Microsoft decide not to be too stringent with their licensing on this. Our second story today is actually one that is quite surprising to me though, and that's Tesla being under investigation for Model S touchscreen failures. And safety regulators want to know more about the reports of brick screens. So basically, they've received 11 complaints in the last 13 months, so that is it's not like it's a report a day or something, it's a lot, but it is a lot of reports to be seeing that. Now, the problem is the NAND flash memory chip in the NVIDIA Tegra 3 processor. It's an 8GB eMMC NAND flash memory. Now, this was used in 2012 to 2015 versions of the Model S vehicles and was prone to wearing out. So it could cause the loss of audible and visual features provided by the touchscreen, such as infotainment, navigation, and web browsing. But he also pointed out that it would in fact make it impossible to use backup camera view. So, whilst Tesla did pioneer this technology, it has run into issues, and understandably. Now, the NHTSA, that's the authority investigating this, is referring to this probe as a preliminary evaluation, where they will try to determine how the problem occurred, as well as whether it caused any harm to owners. And they say that it covered about 63,000 cars, although yes, the same chip was used in 2012 to 2018 versions of Model S and the 2016 to 2018 versions of Model X. So it does account for around 159,000 vehicles. I don't really understand that. So they're saying it only covers 63,000 cars, but it acknowledges it actually covers 159,000. That's confusing. Okay, anyway, Tesla had not responded to a request for comment on this. Our agency also had two other investigations. So one is about an OTA software update Tesla issued that was meant to limit a possible fire risk in the battery packs. The other is looking into claims of Tesla's vehicles undergoing sudden unintended acceleration. Now, personally, I see a story and I also don't see a story here. So, on one hand of it, I can definitely see this becoming quite a big thing. Obviously, this, if it does go anywhere, could leave Tesla with massive liability for this, especially if people have been injured due to it. However, and the fact that it was prone to wearing out suggests it should have been replaced a lot sooner. However, again, I do have to say, I think it's more on the design that NVIDIA kind of implemented in their chip than what Tesla did with that chip. They probably went with the best processor for the car at the time. I don't know. Obviously, there are no quotes from Tesla on this. But if I did have to speculate, and remember, this is my pure speculation. But if I was speculating, I would say they probably went with the best one they could at the time. So let's hope this doesn't return anything and that Tesla's just going to sort out the issue. However, it could be a thing. It could turn out to be a pretty big thing for them, and I'm kind of hoping it doesn't. So yeah, now let's go into today's third story, and that is about Samsung Pay. So Samsung Pay in the UK is going to be a true digital wallet for UK phone owners. Now that's because for Samsung it's going to be a bit different in the UK than it is for the US. So this is going to be called Samsung Pay Card, and it's going to link all your bank and loyalty cards in one place. So it will be powered by European fintech Curve. So this is a company that has had this sort of idea for years, and I actually looked into them not long ago. They popped up and I decided, I'll give it a look. And it's definitely very good. You link all of your bank and loyalty cards in one place, and it gives you a single overview of your whole financial situation, as well as being able to use it for payment as well. Now, the Pay Card is the latest string of personal finance initiatives from Samsung. So, Samsung Money is a debit card planned for the US but designed to take on the likes of Apple Cash. Then there's also Samsung Pay Cash, designed to help users stick to a budget. So, okay, this is confusing. So, Samsung Pay Card is basically the Curve card but provided by Samsung. So to be honest, I'll probably just go straight for the Curve card unless Samsung does have some extra benefits up its sleeve, obviously. Samsung Money is a debit card for the US, that's completely different. Samsung Pay Cash is just for budget sticking. Now, Google is apparently rumoured to be working on a smart debit card, and Huawei is rumoured to be announcing an Apple Card-like product. Oh no, sorry, they did actually recently announce the Apple Card-like product. Now, Samsung's offering will roll out to the UK market initially, but it hasn't been given a specific date other than later this year. So, Curve is, now for those of you that don't know what Curve is, because I can imagine a lot of you won't, basically, Curve is a system, and it allows you to link all of your cards. So, you can link your debit and your credit cards. So, say you've got 2 debit cards and 3 credit cards. You can link them into one app, and you have one card that you can use to pay with all of them. And every time you want to pay, what you can do is you can pay, and if you realise, oh dang it, I paid with the wrong card, because you've used your Curve card, you get a small turnaround window where you can reverse which card you paid with. So you click on the transaction, and then you change from the card you did pay with. So say I paid with a Santander card, and I wanted to pay with a NatWest card. I'll change the card being used for that transaction from Santander to NatWest. So it allows you to have a much finer degree of control over your system, over what you can use, and a much finer degree of control over anything in terms of payments. Now, there is also, I think, a small debit or financing option going on there directly through Curve, but I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work. I've just heard a small few things about it when I was looking into it. So that's the Samsung Pay Card. I definitely want to see what this is going to be like, and it also is quite nice to see Samsung doing this. It really lends a bit more credibility towards the Curve card as well, which is definitely good to be seeing. Now, this is something that I have reported on a lot. How Basecamp's process of Apple policies is already benefiting others. Okay, I'm literally reading these stories as I read them to you, so this is good to see. Apple is building a new way. Oh, quickly actually, whilst we're on Apple, sorry, I meant to mention this earlier. Complete turnaround. So I found out some more details about iOS, and specifically about default apps. So a lot of people will probably never use this, especially if you're an Android user and you're thinking about going over to iOS, this could be the thing that sways you, unless you're like me and you've got everything tied into from your phone to your computer to your iPad and vice versa, and a bit to your iPad and vice versa. So on Android, you may or you might not know that you can kind of completely change the default apps on your device. So one time you can use Google Chrome as your default, then as well as Google Home, so annoying. Okay, so one day you can have Google Chrome as the default browser, so all your links will open in Google Chrome, and next day all your links could open in, say, Opera or I don't know, DuckDuckGo, or one of the millions of other browsers that are out there, because there's so many browsers out there now. You can have opening in any browser you want. So that is now in iOS 14. Apple did not mention this in their keynote. Another thing that they didn't mention, which is actually quite major in my opinion, a lot more major than that definitely, is tap on the back to access features. So now you can tap on the back of your iPhone and you'll be able to access features. So for example, you can have it launch Siri, or you can have it launch a Siri shortcut. So definitely good to see that sort of thing happening, and that sort of thing coming to iOS. Definitely a good accessibility feature. Now it is underneath the accessibility features umbrella. However, as we saw with mouse support originally, we could see it being pulled out just into general features area. Anyway, let's go on to today's second actual story about Apple. So, for those who don't know, here's a quick rundown. Basecamp released an email app called Hey. To use the app, you had to pay $100 a year. Hey, Basecamp did not offer a way to purchase this through Apple's App Store. So, because of this, they basically filed a complaint, and Apple are now being investigated by the European Union, along with complaints by Spotify and Rakuten and others, including Epic Games. Now, but Apple is now building a way for software makers to appeal its decisions. So, this is a weird thing about running a techno company, but if you're successful, at some point you're open to a vast quasi-legal system. So, up to a certain point, while your user complained that they got locked out of their account is just a customer service problem. But after you've reached, say, 1 billion people, but also while before then, it can look strangely like a human rights issue. Do you have a right to speak? Do you have a right to conduct business? And if you lose that right, to whom do you appeal? So, this has gotten a lot of traction on the App Store policies. Now, Basecamp is a mid-sized 16-year-old company and makes product management software, as well as the email service called Hey. Now, you would expect this sort of thing to be accessible on all devices, so naturally they made it on basically everything. However, Basecamp was rejected its first bug fix because Hey did not let users sign up for the product within the app, which Apple presented purely as a customer experience issue, as account creation is a necessary part of an email app, but it is also a revenue issue as Apple keeps 30% of revenue from signups. And the thing is though, Apple doesn't let you say, go here to sign up and link to a web page. You're not allowed to do that. And the reason that they don't want to do that is because they've got multiple things going on for how users can do it. So they've got student discounts. They've got discounts for lots of different groups of people. And Apple actually said it had been a mistake to let Hey into the App Store to begin with. So, if we lived in a world with more than 2 mobile phone operating systems, it would be unlikely Apple would be able to take 30% of an email app's revenue just for hosting it, as they might resemble those in the more competitive payments industry, which hover in the low single-digit percentages. But because more than 1.5 billion iOS devices are in use, and many of the customers who would have potentially pay for Hey at $99 a year are users of both devices, I expect to find Hey there. That's what allows Apple to kind of demand those sorts of prices. Now, in both the US and the EU, they are facing investigations for these sorts of things. Now, this is definitely good to see though that they are kind of announcing these sorts of systems for kind of pushing back against this. However, the thing is though, Hey is being prevented from doing what an app such as Netflix can do. And Netflix is a reader app, exempting it from offering sign up within the app, so we don't have to. Now, I don't know if there's a principal reason for holding email apps one standard and video streaming apps to another, but it just does. And users of the App Store don't get to vote, and neither does Hey. So, it has now done something else. So they have now offered iOS users a free temporary Hey email account with a randomized address, just so that the app is functional when it is first opened, but they will expire after 14 days. However, Hey is also now able to work with enterprise customers, as Apple initially took issue with the app's consumer focus. So, users do still need to subscribe by going directly to Hey's website. However, Hey is now accessible through a kind of sign up through the iOS app. So it's still kind of a backdoor, but it still exists. But at least it exists. Apple has announced two major changes for how it announced developer app, how it handles App Store disputes with third-party developers. So first is that Apple will now allow developers to appeal violations, and there will be a separate process for challenging the guideline itself. So if they have, say, this is actually quite major. I just finished reading this statement. So basically, if they have a dispute about a specific violation, they can challenge that. However, if they want to just challenge against any guideline, then they're allowed to. Also, Apple is no longer delaying app updates intended for bug fixes and other core functions. So they're going to be implemented this summer, which means that they will be allowed. So this is incredible now. Apple is now allowing developers to challenge guidelines and appeal decisions about whether an app violates a given guideline. As well as them also, once on the App Store, bug fixes will no longer be delayed over guideline violations. So that's definitely good. But that's definitely confused. I'm kind of confused. I want to see how this is going to go, because whilst yes, they have a right to challenge it, I don't know if Apple will take their challenges seriously or if they'll just kind of dismiss it. I don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. But anyway, WhatsApp. Our final story today is about WhatsApp payments being suspended in Brazil by the central bank. So this is kind of funny. Now, these are kind of ridiculous actually. So WhatsApp payments were just launched just over a week ago, and Brazil's central bank has now suspended it. This is due to it taking a decision to ensure competition in the payment system market, as the bank will use the suspension to evaluate potential risks to the country's payment infrastructure and to work out whether WhatsApp is compliant with regulation. Now, they launched it in beta in 2018 in India, which is WhatsApp's largest market, but again, they never gained regulatory approval for the service, preventing a wider rollout. This has now also happened for WhatsApp in Brazil, and WhatsApp is also being tested in Mexico. So they were hoping it could be used by people to pay businesses as well as transfer money to individuals, and would be free for individuals but would charge businesses a 3.99% processing fee. That's a standard processing fee, not a fluid one, so that's definitely nice to see. However, WhatsApp also often serves as the main online presence for many small businesses. So over 5 million merchants around the world use the business version of the app, according to Bloomberg. And according to Bloomberg, WhatsApp was actually surprised by the Brazilian central bank's decision. Since they had been in regular contact with the authority, WhatsApp had started a small test of service in the country around a month prior to its launch. So this is actually a surprise to WhatsApp and indeed to me. Now, again, they have requested that MasterCard and Visa stop enabling payment and money transfers through the app and warn they could face fines for non-compliance. I'm confused as to why this is happening really. They allowed it to launch, and just over a week after, they're now saying they need to ensure competition. It's a bit confusing for me, but that's the way it is. Okay, so yeah, that's basically everything for today. I know it's been a bit of a less detailed episode. It's just we've had 5 massive stories to get through today, and they've all come in over the last 12 hours. But it's been a massive day for tech news. But I'd say the most surprising is, to me, actually, Apple's new policies for developers. Hopefully this trend continues. Anyway, just so you all know, the YouTube channel will be up tomorrow. That is, I can't guarantee. It will hopefully be up tomorrow. I can't guarantee. It's not possible to put a guarantee on a date for these sorts of things to be launched, because it just takes time and processing. But hopefully, by the time I've recorded and released tomorrow's episode, this will be launched. So this is Dynamic Digital World. My name is Luke. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in tomorrow's episode.